Welcome to Forever Exiled. I'm Justin, A.K. Tags.
Tyler, Record of Days.
And I'm Brittleknee.
Brittleknee is back for episode 161. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me again.
Happy to. It's so much fun to talk to someone else.
Oh,
I'm just joking, Ty. I love you.
No, you're not joking. He's not joking ever.
Just a little bit.
he's not.
But it is nice to have you on.
It is. It's really fun to have you on.
You're fulfilling the same thing for both of us.
It's true.
How weird is that?
A reprieve.
Yeah, that's right. A break
The
from each other.
crushing normalness of normalcy.
Mm-hmm. Episode 161, Forever Exiled. Big shout out to our patrons. Thank you guys so much for supporting the podcast and hanging out with us, not only for the main episode, but After Dark. Because After Dark's what you get with Patreon. It's a podcast after the podcast where we just continue to talk about stuff and things. Sometimes I drink.
Sometimes.
That's about it. But you also get a card and a sticker, so it's a win. It's a win. Actually,
Can't
we
get
have
any better.
something fun coming too soon. So anyway, thank you everybody for supporting the podcast. You're awesome.
Mhm.
And here we are, episode 161.
And happy Remembrance Day, everybody. Well, a somber, thankful Remembrance Day. You know,
Have a thankful,
happy one. A
Remembrance
somber,
Day.
thankful, wonderful Remembrance Day. Remembering. The
I
end.
think, yeah, okay. Perfect.
Mhm.
So
Say some
It's not
fun
supposed to be funny, but
trivia.
here's the thing, people. I really screwed up my first happy Remembrance Day. And then I'm like, wait, it's not happy, but it's supposed to be. And then I really screwed it up. So then I asked Justin to take it out. And then
it got better.
anyway, so this is what you get. I do mean it sincerely, but
It is a
please
very important
excuse
day.
the giggles.
Yeah.
Please excuse the giggles, but it is kind of funny how much I screw up very simple things. So
No, it's a
anyway.
I have
tough
an
thing to
idea.
say. Go ahead. What's the idea?
Why don't we start over?
Let's do it again. I think you did fine. I think you did fine.
No,
it's a
thanks.
tough
we
day
can
to
start
say
the whole
happy
thing
for.
over.
Oh God, start from the beginning. We got to count to 6 again. Oh,
Yep, we can do it.
No, we
We'd
can't
never
do
make
that.
it.
Counting
We'd
to
never make
six.
it.
Yes, we can.
No, it would never work. How, I guess, okay, so normally we do a how was your week, which we'll do ours in a minute, but we haven't talked to you since 151, BK. How's life? What's
Yeah.
new? What you been up
Big
to?
things.
Yeah, so kind of a bit of a change up recently. I put a post out, but I am going back to school. Well, air quotes school, but I am obtaining skills, I guess I should say, and certificates, because I can't really call it school.
In?
I'm starting out with some basic game design courses and some writing courses and some 3D modeling courses, but the idea and the intent is to actually get into level design for video game development.
Cool.
Good for you.
What sort of
Very
spurred
cool.
that on?
Well, so I've been actually looking for work the past 6 months or so, and I was trying to kind of take the skills and projects and experience that I had gotten from working on the Path of Exile racing scene and kind of smoosh it into like either trying to get a job as like a associate producer, like entry level project management, and it just was not working out. Like my resume was largely unimpressive. And like, while it's relevant to people who understand what's going on in the scene, like there's very few people in the ARPG scene that's like hiring for kind of what I was doing. And then what I was doing made zero sense to anyone outside of the sphere. So, you know, like they'd look at that CV and be like, what the fuck is it? I don't care that you made a Discord. Like, what is speed running? Who cares a shit?
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, well, you know, if I have to go through a certain amount of education and certificate studies and whatever to like make my role as a entry level project manager or getting into associate production work, like if I have to go through getting certificates and extra training and doing Scrum and all this other kind of stuff, like if I have to do the education part anyways, like maybe I should pick something I'm a little bit more interested in than just project management. Like before it was like, I can wrangle this stuff and sell this career, but it's like, is this really what I want to do? Do I have to equivalate like what I do moving forward into something that like just trying to make this experience that I've had the past year and a half to 2 years like work? And it's like, no, I'd kind of just rather do something that sounds fun. Like there's no reason why, you know, my second career shouldn't be fun.
Totally.
I had heaps of fun when I was a medic until it kind of got bad towards the end. But like as I was working, it never felt like work. I got up, put my uniform on and went to work. And it was just like this ongoing adventure for most part. So I sat down and I really thought about like, okay, what are the elements of game design that I enjoy the most? Like narrative design, that's really cool. I love stories in games. Like I'm very much hooked by the using video games as a storytelling medium in general. So a lot of these like narrative adventure point and click video games that have stories underlying them, I love those. And then several, more recent games too. Like I always go back to Final Fantasy 14 because honestly, the Shadowbringers expansion is like one of the greatest stories I've ever read, and it was told in an MMO, which is like a completely unlikely medium for a story that grand and that thorough. Like usually MMO stories are kind of like bullshit, like right? You go and it's like, oh, I'll go over here and kill 10 monsters because they looked at me weird. And you're like, okay. And you go over there and kill 10 monsters and you come back and you get your quest and you move on. So that was something that was really inspiring too. And then on top of that, it's like, okay, well, I also used to spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours in editors. So whether it was like the original StarCraft, making my own maps, or Warcraft 3, making my own maps to play with my friends, or even, going beyond like Age of Empires, StarCraft, Warcraft 3, etc., into like the original, like Civ 4 through 6, I think all have editors too. I played those a lot too because those are hexagonals.
Because they're what?
They have hexagonal or what do you call it? Tile templates.
The little tiles when you're playing.
So when like some editors are, just sort of like ground based, some are square based, and like your unit of measurement changes. And hexagonal movement is always better in tabletop and otherwise because every single move is exactly one space. Whereas if you're working on a square grid environment, a diagonal is 2, but it counts as 1, so there's some discrepancy there. Whereas, okay. And so I was like, well, there's got to be some sort of position out there where like I can take all of this stuff, like enjoying stories, enjoying making maps, and enjoying building stuff. And it's like it brings me back to all of the time I spent in like my middle school to high school D&D group. I was usually the game master / dungeon master for those groups, and I used to spend like tons and tons of hours of research on like I'd go through like my grandfather's old National Geographic magazines and like cut up all the stuff that I thought was like really cool when I was trying to make like
that's cool
worlds and scenarios. Cause this was largely before like the mini scene was super popular. Like we had grid paper and National Geographic magazine cutouts and some stuff that I would like scrawl on paper. And I just enjoyed making fake maps, making little scenes and all these other sorts of things. And like that's when I just started reading through job descriptions, trying to think about like I'd made a list of all the stuff that I enjoy, and level designer seemed like the biggest fit because I'll still be utilizing a lot of the sort of more management experience that I have gotten, and I took a PM certificate course already because a level designer has to work with not only your game programmers, your narrative design elements, your environmental artists and everything like that, but you have to like come together and cultivate a vision of what a level or like what the environment will look like based off of everyone else's sort of like ideas. And like you get to paint the canvas, but you're more or less like working within the parameters and making this unified dream a reality. And that just seems so cool.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Have you started your classes yet?
I have. Nice. I've been taking an intro level game design course and an entry level narrative design course for right now. And those are the ones I'm taking together. The next ones I'll be taking are a more advanced like game design and then the entry level to Unity, because I'm going to learn Unity first and then Unreal, the game engines, because Unity is a bit more simple from what I hear. And I'm on the programming side, Unreal is a little bit more intense. And so since I haven't done a lick of coding myself, I need to kind of like baby steps into this, I think. So I'll learn Unity first, and that one does, I think she's C#.
Cool.
Yeah.
I don't know any of the programming stuff. I do know Unity though. It was the one that was the last game I was playing was made by Unity.
Yeah, it seems like a really neat engine. There's a lot of assets and stuff available for it. And I look forward to, I got to learn how to do some 3D modeling and all that other kind of stuff too. So I got to learn how to use like Unreal, Unity, Blender. I got to teach myself more Photoshop. I know like enough to make thumbnails.
So that's a start.
I got to learn more. And I was working with Illustrator a couple days ago because in my intro to this game design class, I have to make a game, like a little board game. And so
cool.
I had to, yeah. So the parameters where it has to be a sheet of paper, like no more, and you can have 2 dice, and you have to make a game out of that. So
That's pretty cool.
yeah, it's been a really fun challenge. I'm still working on mine. I gotta finish it today because I gotta turn it in.
Is there like a certain depth to the games? Because my head goes to snakes and ladders.
It's kind of like you're not supposed to go too complex. So mine is kind of a shoots and ladders sort of thing too, except it's bridge
Shoots and ladders, you crazy Americans.
What's a shoot?
I don't know.
Is that a slide?
It's like the things that are on top of
Oh,
buildings
okay.
that you throw debris in and it goes all the way down to the
Oh.
bottom. Or like
It does make more
laundry in
sense than
some
riding
areas.
a snake.
Yes,
Yeah.
it does.
Ours has always been snakes and
We're
ladders.
just not an imaginative people, us Americans. We
Yeah,
can't,
you guys
know.
were like, oh, those Canadians riding on snakes. Maybe slides even would make more sense.
Yeah, slides and ladders.
Why is it snakes and ladders?
I have no
I
idea.
Now I'm
know.
wondering. So that's an After Dark Google thing.
Same idiot that made the English language. Goodness. Good for you, though, for having the guts to make such a big change, BK. That's really awesome. Good for you. I hope it's encouraged a lot of other people that are familiar with you to do the same if that's where their heart was inclined, but they never had the guts to do it before or were nervous about it. I saw your post, of course, and read through a whole bunch of the comments, and must have been pretty overwhelming. You have, I mean, obviously as a content creator, you get your fair share of criticisms and negative feedback, but when you have come out with a post like this, it's amazing to see how many people, even if they're not normal posters or people, a lot of people that follow you would, normally be silent type of thing. And you had so much positive feedback and thanks and so many people that expressed how inspiring you were to them. So I was very happy for you when I read all those comments.
I was completely terrified of putting that post out too.
Yeah, for
because
sure.
Well, I mean, this is so quick history for people that might be new listening. I used to be a paramedic. I did it for 8 years. That was about 4 or 5 years ago now. And so streaming in this sort of interim of like moving past the sort of like fallout and baggage from leaving that career, because there's a lot of mental and emotional stuff that comes with leaving that one. I've just been doing streaming in the meantime. It was never meant to be sort of like my final destination. I had no intent or desire to be like big time streaming name. Like I wasn't looking to be Shroud or all of these other types of like big names, even like Ziz, Ziz is a huge streamer, even in like the rankings of like overall Twitch. But like that was never my intention. I just sort of was trying to cruise, and especially after the last 2 years and how that all played out, I kind of stopped putting myself first for a while. And so this is sort of more or less like my return. It's like, all right, get back on track. Like this wasn't meant to be forever. It's already been 4 years. Like need to start putting steps in place to get to where I'm going next, because like one, not get any younger. And two, well, anything's going to take a couple years, maybe at most, to train and acquire the skills or certificates or knowledge, experience, etc. for. So it's like the sooner I get started, the sooner I can actually launch into a possible career. It's terrifying to basically look at your audience who has supported you for 4 years and go, yeah, I'm not going to be around. I'm actively looking to get out. I'm going to go acquire training so that I don't have to do this anymore. And then so I was terrified. Like, I know I'm going to be streaming in the meantime because it's the job I have. And nothing's going to change about the quality of the streams, the type of streams, like the community, nothing will change. But I am going to be streaming less frequently, frequently rather, especially as like a league goes on. Like there'll be Bingo League and I probably won't stream until the next hype cycle picks up. And that's just like, hello, income. I'm going to shoot you right in the face. Goodbye. And then, like it's terrifying. And so for people to be like, yeah, we're on board. And not only like we're on board, but it's like I had several people message me privately that'll be like, it doesn't matter, like that you're not gonna be streaming as much. Like I'm keeping the sub rolling. Like I'm keeping it going, like no matter what. It was really touching to have so many people be like, we understand that this is not forever, but we're still gonna help you get to where you want to go next too. And so
That's awesome.
that was really humbling.
It is. It's amazing how much love is out there. You know, like the few loud voices that are negative, always, you know, they're easy to remember and it makes it seem like that's what the majority would be thinking, but there's so many people that just have very kind and thoughtful hearts out there, and I'm glad you have so many of them in your corner.
Very cool. So are you enjoying the classes?
I am immensely. It's actually a lot of fun. Like putting this first little board game together has been a hoot. And one of the main reasons for going through this whole level design thing too is that I've always been an incredibly creative person. Like, and certainly as a medic, unless you're, you know, suturing things up or bandaging stuff creatively, you don't really get chances to be creative. You know, like no one's gonna look at that IV catheter and be like, wow, man, the way you tape that IV cath down is just beautiful. I'm inspired. No, like, so it was really important for me to sort of like acknowledge this creative underpinning that's been in my life. Like I took art classes. I tested out an IB art, which is IB is like a difficult, I don't know even how to describe it. It's a worldwide high school level equivalent like certificate thing that you can get in addition to your like high school diploma. And the courses and requirements for getting that are much, much harder than normal high school. And one of the things that I chose to test out in that is art, where you have to put forward a portfolio and be actually reviewed. Like they fly someone in who's accredited to like judge portfolios on this level, and they come judge you and all the research you've done and blah, 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 blah. And then so like through that, and I took a bunch of art history courses as electives through college. And so like I've always found like the aesthetics and creativity and all design, there's always been like a lot of joy and pleasure in that. And so it was important for, you know, this next thing that I do to actually include some of the creative process in some way or fashion.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Very
sweet. So have you played much Path of Exile recently? I'm guessing not then if you've been that busy with classes.
I haven't been playing too much. We did do the bingo league and that one just wrapped up earlier this week. And I think I'm going to play one of the events. I'm going to come back for a few days and play. I didn't get to test out Delirium Everywhere the last time it was on, so I think that's the one I'm going to play.
Nice. All right, well, we'll talk some more PoE in a minute. Ty, how was your week?
I had a fantastic week. I'll be as fast as I can because, you know, I had a great week. Justin, this week I bought BK. Do you have any? I don't know what your. I guess your temperature, your climate is totally different than ours. But I bought 2 hydrangeas. I'm excited to like revamp the front, and I want them to get their roots solidified before winter. I'm hoping for a short winter, so big risk here. But I bought 2 different hydrangeas for the front and a variant of a camellia tree, hoping it's one of the small ones. Like some camellias can get, you know, quite high, these trees, but I want one that's only about maybe 4 to maybe 6 feet high. That's it. So all the research I did on this specific variant of camellia, it said like it's a 3-foot camellia, but then when I go and actually get the proper variant from the nursery close by, it's set up to 10 feet. And I'm like, no, I can't reach that. So anyway, I bought it anyway, hoping for the best. Got that. And the lawns, Justin, the seeds aren't growing as much. They need the sun. Now it's like we went through all this sun and you could water the lawn as much as you needed. Any new seeds, they just sprouted up like crazy. Now there's no sun. Now it's just rain for the last week. It is. We had 2 weeks of fall, right? It went from drought to 2 weeks of fall, and now
winter. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's going to start snowing next week. So, but I didn't know it was going to start snowing at the beginning of the rain season. So I'm like, oh, sweet, it's just going to start raining. So I could actually seed a good portion of the lawn. Normally when I seed the lawn, I only seed what my sprinkler can reach. I'm not going to move the sprinkler around and do that because then it turns into like a full-time job almost. So I only seed a section that the whole sprinkler can reach. And then once that's done, then I can move it over. But when you're going to get like 2 solid weeks of rain, just seed whatever you need to throughout the whole property and it'll get the water that it needs. Well, it's not growing because there's no sun. So hopefully it picks up. But yeah, it is pretty cold at night. So it might have just been a waste. But anyway, but we had Halloween, which was awesome. And my daughter was a vampire and she actually looked really cool. Not like one of these parents where like it didn't look like a cool vampire costume, but you're like, oh, wow, you look cool. She actually looked pretty sweet. And she has like some pretty sweet, scary expressions. So that was awesome. And my son went as Calvin and Hobbes. My wife made them a Hobbes stuffy that looks exactly like it does in the comics. And because what's his name? Bill Watterson, I think his name was, who made Calvin and Hobbes. He never he never monetized Calvin and Hobbes. It was always comic only. So she found a pattern to make it. And he went as Calvin and Hobbes. He just had a red and black striped shirt and spiky hair. And it's hilarious because I was trying to tell him, like, hey, so like be whatever you want, but just remember, like, no kids know Calvin and Hobbes. Like, no one's going to know that. Only adults will. So if you see a lot of kids getting compliments and you're not getting any, like, don't worry. It's just be what you want to be and don't worry about what other people think. So anyway, we're going, Oliver and I, we go trick-or-treating with one of his buddies, right? So the mom and I and Oliver and his buddy go, and we're walking around the neighborhood, and my wife went with my daughter, who went with their family and my daughter's cousins. So anyway, walking around with Oliver, and he is getting compliments like every single adult that passes him. Are you Calvin and Hobbes? Are you Calvin and Hobbes? We go to a house. Are you? And there's like this guy dressed up as Obi-Wan Kenobi who's handing out all the. He's like, are you Calvin? I have them all memorized. And Oliver's like, me too. And it was hilarious seeing like this little 7-year-old be like best friends with all of these adults. And the guy with the wicked skeleton costume was still getting compliments, but from other kids who were also dressed up cool. So it was pretty fun. But this was the first Halloween. This was the first Halloween where, I mean, we've had COVID for 2 years, so there hasn't really been decent trick-or-treating, of course. But now my kids are at that age where they have endless energy. I didn't know you could do that in Halloween. Like, I always remembered being tired after a certain amount. I had great aspirations, but I got tired. You didn't get tired?
My kids do not get tired.
No,
they could literally go till midnight. I don't know what it is.
Right. This is the first year that's happened. So I didn't have backup bags or anything like. I mean, when your bag's full, it's time to go home. So you don't bring a backup bag anyway. But the mom that I was with, she brought a backup bag. But like Oliver and his buddy John, they have these, the big normal like cloth grocery bags that you would have now, just loaded. They can bear like their shoulders they're complaining about how sore their shoulders are nonstop. They're like, we got to go, man. Gotta keep going. It was hilarious. So anyway, we ended up ending the night, but it was a lot of fun seeing them that excited. And I sent an email to Doritos.
What?
That's right.
Why?
That's right. So listen, I'll read you the response.
Hold on. I want to know what you wrote. Why did you write Doritos an email? I feel like you're just after. Were you complaining? No, it wasn't a complaint, was it?
Hi, Tyler. God. We're so glad you took the time to tell us how much you enjoy Doritos ketchup. Loyal fans.
What?
Loyal fans like you keep us energized, so you can imagine how pleased we are to hear from the people who are most important to us. Thanks again for the stamp of approval. We truly appreciate your loyalty and your business. Best regards, Natasha from PepsiCo Consumer
So did you
Relations.
email them just to tell them that you like the type of chip?
Yes.
Why? What the hell? Why?
So, BK, do you have ketchup chips where you are?
As like a novelty item. The people buy and giggle at and then try one and then throw it away.
It's totally different in the States. Like ketchup and all dressed, they're like, what is this?
Really? Yeah. So I figured it was a Canadian thing, the ketchup thing. So anyway, I don't even know if they taste different, but ketchup chips are everywhere here.
Mm-hmm.
And they're actually delicious, but Doritos has never made, I've never seen them before. And I never shop at Save On Foods because it's so much more expensive than some of the other grocery stores, but we go there for pharmacy reasons. And so I forget why I was there, but I was in the chip aisle. I have no idea why I would be in the chip aisle.
Do you like
eat
them?
anything there. So, but I saw Doritos ketchup. I'm like, no way, get out. But I never even considered Doritos chips because they're normally milk products, right? For that like cheesy over flavor, right? So I look at the back. There's no wheat. There's no cheese. There's no nothing. I could actually eat these ketchup Dorito chips. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to try them. So, of course, for a first taste, I bring 4 bags home because I'm like, I haven't had flavored chips in over a decade. And they were delicious. But on the top of the bag, it said limited time only. And I'm like, no way. I am going to do my part. So now it's guaranteed that ketchup chips are going to be permanent here in Canada for Doritos. Because I emailed PepsiCo and I let them know.
Valiant effort. Canadians everywhere will thank you. They'll remember this day.
I really want to see that email. I feel like you were way over the top. It
started with 5 pleases.
Oh my goodness.
Please. Yeah. And yeah. But I also included allergy stuff. Like I'm allergic to wheat. I'm allergic to cow dairy. I'm allergic to this. I can't have potatoes. I have to be careful about when glycemic index. Like these cater to so many people. It's wonderful. Anyway, yeah, it was a good time. I had a good week. And, man of the people for saving Dorito ketchup chips in Canada.
Local legend.
I expect my name on the bag.
Because of.
That's right. So just you How was your week,
I
man?
mean, you know, we are really good friends and we have vastly different lives. Our weeks are so different. I didn't do any planting, no trees.
No.
My week was ridiculous. It went really, really good until Wednesday. That was the day, actually, I think you first messaged me because we were going to try, you wanted to try something. 1 o'clock on Wednesday, just shit hit the window or the fan or whatever it's supposed to hit. And it was absolute trash. Wednesday. Yeah, I hit everything.
What it's supposed to hit, what it's not, just generally
it just
everywhere.
Went everywhere. It was just a nightmare. And so it was, it was Wednesday night sucked. Wednesday night was awful. But the rest of the week overall was fun. Halloween was a good time. The kids had a blast.
Do you go as a family or they
I stay home and hand out the candy, and Christina goes with the kids because they don't. There's no point in trick or treating around us because it's all old people. Like and it's on a hill, so the houses are too far apart. So they go down to like her mom's place, because the houses are much closer. Yeah, so then they can hit as many as they want. And
we just put the bowl out and say, "Don't take too many."
Oh, really? I did chase down some assholes that threw a firecracker onto my lawn, though.
Kill them, Justin. Dude, don't even yell at them. Just murder them.
They murdered a single blade of grass.
How I was shocked that they were like in their 30s. It was like a group of like 4 guys. And I'm like, what? I was seriously just baffled because first off, you idiots, I've got cameras everywhere. And then they took off running, which made me laugh too, because I was yelling and running towards
probably
people
in your
my
underwear.
own age. And I was not saying very nice things. But anyway, so Halloween was fun. The week in general, like outside of work stuff it was good. Yeah, it was good. I feel I need to start writing notes down because I don't remember everything.
Yes, you do.
If I just, I was like, maybe I'll look at my calendar. It'll help me. No, it won't. It's just meetings. It was meetings all week, but it was good. Halloween was fun.
Well, you don't put any personal stuff in your calendar. You only put work stuff. So that's
I have like the girls' dance is in there. Yeah. Actually, I did have some fun. So Logan and I had our birthday last week, and so he got like a bunch of different gifts, but he got a lot of gifts that were focused around. He really loves video game, like the sort of like the back and the design side, and he loves building stuff. So he got some kits where he could like solder and build his own console, like a little handheld console.
Oh, cool.
And some different stuff. So I was teaching him and working with him on soldering this week. So that was actually a lot of fun because he's tried doing it in school, but I'm not really sure what they teach kids in school, but there's far too much solder. It was, and then you get this little kit where the joints are all quite close together. So that was fun. We built like a little handheld console and some little, I don't know, robot thing.
Nice.
But other than that, the week's been good. It's been very, very, very busy. Wednesday night can just go away. I don't ever want to see Wednesday night again because that was an awful night. No. But the rest of it has been, it's been a lot of fun. It's been really, really busy. So I quite was looking forward to today because my phone's on D&D, so I can mostly ignore it. And I have been really working on what I told you 2 weeks ago, maybe, or maybe last week, where at 6 o'clock, I don't look at notifications on my phone, or I have them turned off so my email doesn't notify me. And it has mostly been working. So
that's good.
That's at least good. Yeah, I had to find some way to disconnect. Balance. Yeah, it's tough. One problem was I realized something last night right before bed. So then I was up till midnight on my computer dealing with it. But other than that, it's been good. And we've been watching Handmaid's Tale still. We're like 3/4 of the way probably through season 2. And now I'm nervous about what's going to happen at the end of season 2 because somebody commented and was like, I really liked it, but I stopped at the end of season 2. I won't spoil it. And I was like, what does that mean?
See, little things are spoilers, Justin. Little things are spoilers.
So now I'm waiting to see what terrible thing's going to happen at the end of season 2. But I actually don't care. I will still continue to watch it. And it's because I so much look forward to now my evenings of just ignoring my phone and sitting on the couch. It's one of my favorite things now. Yeah. So anyway, and Mondays, I like racing.
That's good.
I like racing on Mondays. Kicking everybody's ass. Anyway, good week.
Good.
All right, let's talk about this week in PoE. Hey, Ty, what do you got?
Well, first, Ogre Butts made a comment in our Discord. And I want to squeeze this in before we got into this week in PoE because it's to me, it's kind of like an announcement. So I've been I've complained in the past, maybe specifically for console, but I've complained in the past about how the console trade prior, the old console trade used to work, right? Because it just recently changed this league. But it was hard because you were, to me, I only had the impression that you could search for one modifier, right? Like I'm not used to how the text-based searching works on PC games, right? So where you would have like, I don't know, quotation, word, quotation, space, quotation, and another one. And I didn't know that was stuff. So I would just type in one word without quotes, like movement. And then I would see every type of boot that would have movement speed or something like that. Or if I typed in movement space, speed, that kind of thing. So anyway, I always thought that you could only search one modifier while you're scrolling through all of your different base types and looking for certain modifiers in the trade site. But when I'd go to the help section, it was itty bitty and puny. It would say something along the lines of like, it only had, this is how you search for eye level, where it was like ILVL : space and then an item level, but it didn't tell you how to do like greater or less than or anything like that. Like those are just things.
Is this
that
a console specific thing? I'm confused. Is this?
Yeah, because with PC, you've always had the trade site and it had the fill in the blanks on the trade site.
Right. Yeah,
and console never had that. So
Okay.
it would have something similar to how you would search for something in the store, right? Where it's just a search bar.
Just a bar. Okay.
And you would need to know all the shortcuts that maybe normal avid PC gamers would already know.
Okay.
So on the console help section, there was like two things that it was helping you. It said like, type the name of the mod, or here's how you search for item level or something, right? And so there wasn't very much that was helpful there for me. Other people knew more than I did, but I was very dependent on the help section. So Ogrebutts explained that, there are ways to do multiple things, and here's how you do it. And so, but that got me thinking, like, I've complained in the past about how search was, obviously not this league, of course, because search got completely changed for console. So then I realized it's just been a long time since I've actually gone to look at the help section. So I go into trade on console, and yes, now they have the website, so it's not that dependent now, but I go into the trade help section on console, and it's a massive list of all these great things that you can do on trade, and it explains things very thoroughly. So at some point, not sure when, they really improved the help trade dialogue there, and to really let people know how to trade. So that's really cool. I assume it was there before this league, because now you can just bring up the trade website and actually search for stuff and do the same fill in the blank thing that the PC people do. But that was really nice to see, and I appreciate Ogrebutts for helping me out with that. So it was neat. Console now has a very good help section listed for trade site and store searching.
But you can do the trade site now similar to PC, right? From your phone?
That's right. Yeah, that's what I was saying. So the news comes a little late for me, but still, I appreciated being reminded that I needed to check it out. So thanks, Ogrebutts. But yeah, this week there was lots of really cool stuff. Did you, the new form avatars? Those are cool. I don't recognize the last one. But
what is this? Your like little picture or whatever?
Yeah, the little picture you can put next to your icon.
Yeah, it's nice that they finally started expanding those, because for the longest time it was always just the same ones, and they were all like super low res pictures of various models or what have you. So some of these new ones are really neat.
That last one looks like a treasure, like your stash tab, or your stash. Sorry, almost looks like the stash.
So
like a fancy stash.
And I think they have the hunger in there. And yeah, there was some really, they all look really cool. So I always like that kind of stuff, little details. They came out with some more microtransactions, but they came out with a Righteous Fire one that looks really awesome, and it's not pay to die. The Transcendent Righteous Fire one, yeah, really, really cool. Well, so they had Lightning Strike and Kinetic Blast. And then Mayhem begins soon, but then they had, I wanted to say something here. They have a hideout and pet sale this weekend. And it got me thinking, like, okay, I want to go check out and see what hideouts are available. Like, yeah, I actually want to buy one and then just make it nice and grassy and kind of similar to how we have our guild hideout. Anyway, I go and I'm checking, and there's a big sale on all hideout stuff and all pet stuff. And so I go into the, what's on sale menu, and I type in hideout. It didn't filter anything, because everything in there is for hideout stuff, and it doesn't categorize, like there's no tabs or categories for me to just see hideout bases. I can only type in hideout, and then I see absolutely everything that has hideout in its description or title. So it actually didn't help me filter anything at all. So I'm kind of hoping they fix like their ability to search through or filter stuff in their store before PoE 2, because all I wanted to do, I'm in love with the pet sale too, but all I wanted to do is see which hideout bases there were. And I basically had to scroll through the entire hideout section just to see.
Isn't there like a tab on the left that's just hideouts, like just the actual bases? I thought one of the tabs was hideouts.
It contains the hideout decorations too, unfortunately.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
Oh, that is weird.
They lump it all together.
Huh.
Yeah, so there's there's a little extra step that I think they could use for categorizing, organizing, however it is, filtering, so that it's a little bit easier to get the specifics of what you're looking for, whether it's actually hideouts or just decorations. Because I don't know, I think it would be a nice touch to have that all figured out before PoE 2. You know, get that extra onslaught of stuff. But yeah, Mayhem, pets, woo! Did
Mayhem
either of you
starts
get the skeletons?
Like today or something? Does Mayhem start really soon? I think it starts pretty soon. Sorry, did I get what?
Did you either of you get the skeletons?
It does. It starts in 3 hours. Sorry.
The skeletons? They had new pets or?
No, this Halloween one.
Oh,
with the like crazy flailing arms.
Oh yeah, that one was bought the day it was announced. I mean, the thing's awesome.
It's like Tyler too.
Sweet, that's the best.
Because the launch video for him too, like the video that they released when he came out, was like that. Whoever made that video knew exactly what they were doing. They knew exactly how ridiculous that was and how to showcase it in the most appropriate way.
Nothing
did you get more
praise.
of them, Ty? I think you did, didn't you?
I did. I bought 2 on PC. Before I only bought 2 on console, but now I have 2 on PC. And if those worlds ever join, I will have 4.
Yes, you will.
Veritable skeleton overlord over here.
That's right. That's right. Now, Justin, to answer your question, you know what you can do now?
What was my question?
When does the event start? Well,
okay, yeah.
All you need to do, Justin, is go to the events page on pathofexile.com and it'll actually tell you.
Update it?
Wow.
They did.
Wow.
Quite possibly a week later, but they did.
Huh.
It might have been with the patch that they came out, but it was late enough that there were some posts that were showing how sad it is that you have an announcement for something and then it's not on the website to find information. Now I have to scroll through.
On the calendar.
Look at that. And it's shown in your local time. It's nice that they're finally using it.
It's great. So, and I think I remember them using it before as well. This sounds, I'm having some deja vu, but anyway, it wasn't available at the time of the original announcement, but it's there now. So if you have any questions, just go to pathofexile.com, people. They got you covered.
Well, that's cool that they added that.
Yeah. And then, of course, they announced they had a little bit more detail for their November, for the events coming up. And they made some changes to some of the original posts that they had. But can somebody tell me what demigod or godslayer is? I know you both described it to me before, but I don't remember, and the post doesn't describe it. What are the demigod and godslayer rewards again?
Those are like individual sort of items that are given out to the top. It's usually top 5 of every ascendancy for an event, but they may have brought that down or changed the way the reward is given out. But they're usually just like bragging items that'll usually have like your name. Like the only one that I have is from a really, really long time ago, and it's a helmet. And it'll say like number 4 SSF Guardian or whatever your class is, like on it, and it'll have your name. So it's
it's an equipable item,
right? And they usually do funny stuff with character size. They're usually like 5 or 10% increased character size. So if you put on all of them, then you're just this gigantic god hanging out in some town somewhere, lording.
But they're like
over.
a tabula in terms of gameplay.
Yeah, they don't do anything incredible. No, they don't have any sort of like crazy cool skills. It's not like you win and you're given this like crazy headhunter sort of item. It's just mostly, something that very few people have. The only source of getting them is by playing the events. There's no other way to obtain them.
Okay.
And, it's like a little trophy that you always have.
Yeah, and they're not doing the demigods anymore.
Yeah, cool. I guess it's all Godslayer stuff now. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right. So yeah, they came out with their November events topics, I guess you could say, and explained a little bit more in detail what's happening, but also made some changes as well. One of them made me kind of roll my eyes and laugh. I'm sure they have a fantastic reason for it, but what did they say? They said, we previously announced that players would receive 1 guaranteed mystery box for reaching level 50 in any of the 1 events. We have decided to double this to 2 possible mystery boxes, with the second awarded for reaching level 50 in a second event. As each box now costs 50 points due to the higher average values of cosmetics contained and the removal of repeating awards, this should be comparable to getting 3 of the old 30-point boxes. So this structure also gives you the flexibility to skip an event of your choice without feeling that you must play all 3 events for getting all the boxes.
So they gave everybody an extra box.
Right. And that's very kind, very generous. But I was laughing because we were talking last episode how silly it is to complain that you're not getting enough free stuff. You know what I mean? Like GGG changed for whatever the reasons are, that instead of getting the 3, probably because of the cost of the mystery boxes and there's no more dupes, that people were just going to get 1. We're like, okay, great, that's fine. That was both of our attitudes anyway. BK, I don't know what your opinion would have been regarding it.
It doesn't matter to me. It's free stuff. So
right. I like the fact that I didn't feel the need to play all 3 if I really wanted them, but I also never would have done that anyway. So
right. So now here's the funny part for me. So of course there's some whining, complaining, and on the outside it just looks like GGG kind of gave in. They didn't give all 3, but they kind of give in a little bit. They met halfway, and so it kind of made me laugh. But there was a Calvin immediately there was a Calvin and Hobbes that I've always laughed at. The kids really like, but I thought of it instantly in regards to this. It's kind of the opposite of what happened, but it definitely made me think of it. So Calvin's dad, I'm going to actually read it to you. That's right. You're very lucky. Calvin's dad is talking to Calvin, and Calvin's dad says, "Calvin, I'd like you to pick up all the sticks and fallen branches in the yard so I can mow it." And Calvin says, "Will you pay me?" And Dad says, "Well, okay, I'll pay you $1. $1, says Calvin. "I won't do it for less than $25. And then the dad responds with, "Well, in a minute, you're going to do it for nothing just because I told you to." Calvin's like, "Oh, okay, I'll take the $1. Smart kid, Dad says. And I immediately thought of that because of, not complaining that you're not getting enough or anything like that. And so it was kind of funny, but I'm sure it's going to be fantastic. Are either of you going to, BK, you said you're going to play for
if I'll probably do
events, right?
If I'll probably play a little bit of Endless Elf and Delirium Everywhere. Endless Elf is just like I'll poke around on it, but the Delirium Everywhere I'll probably go a little bit harder.
Cool.
Are you going to play any of them, Ty?
I was thinking about it, but I'm really, really enjoying the current personal goal I have in the game right now, so I might not. Because Ruthless came out as well. I mean, I didn't apply for it, but there was that possibility of applying and getting it, and then there was, of course, the 3 events. But I have kind of a personal goal that I'm going through right now, and I'm leveling a couple characters, and I'm enjoying it. So I'm probably going to stick with that because don't have as much time to do that. Leveling takes a long time, and getting gems leveled up. So I'll probably stick with that. So I'm probably not going to go for any of the mystery boxes. How about you, Just?
Nope, I don't think so. None of them stand out to me. Mayhem seemed kind of fun just for the sake of it, but I don't like all the extra modifiers that are in each of the zones, and I feel like it might just be there to make me angry. And with limited time, I'm not sure. Delirium Everywhere is like, no, thank you.
Well, it's been tweaked.
Maybe to be honest, the only thing I'm curious about with Delirium Everywhere is if they force the music of Delirium in every single zone, which would just be so boring. I love the music for Delirium is great, but I remember I think we talked with Camille about it, but it's just that becomes it. Like there's no more change or zones or anything. Like it's just this all the time. I'm kind of curious if they do that, but yeah, I don't know. I maybe 50 for a box, but then I also go like, I could just buy one for $5 and then I don't have to.
No.
I'm not sure if it's worth it for just the box. So I'm not sure. I haven't decided yet, but yeah, I am curious though. So you talked about them announcing Ruthless, and they put out their like beta sign up. On your guys' thoughts on Ruthless, because I do have a comment, but I'm curious what you guys think about it.
About it in general?
Yeah, just Ruthless in general.
Why don't you go, BK?
I think it's cool that they offer it as like another game mode. I'm glad they're, for the people that are super, super interested in that kind of stuff, like I'm glad it's there. I kind of like the idea of the mode existing to where, because with the game currently so focused on the end game, and you slog through the story, you put your best gear on, you start through the map grind, and then you get to your tier 16s, do your red maps, and you get all settled there, and then you set up your farming method, or you go do your bosses and everything like that. It's so backloaded that it's kind of interesting to turn around and have this alternate mode where like even just getting through the story is going to be this colossal amount of effort.
And I don't know, in some ways, like, because there's certain action RPGs, like I remember like when D3 came out, playing for the story and being like really invested in the story, especially when it's an announcement released as well, or sorry, expansion released. And certainly when I first started playing PoE, like I was really invested in the story. I read all the dialogues and everything like that. And but eventually in games like this, like the story becomes redundant, uninteresting, and you know, something that you generally skip by. And I don't think it's going to make like the narrative elements of the story any different or more exciting, but certainly to have like that struggle or like the challenge presented early rather than later is a definitely a different way to play it. And I think it's like interesting to have available. And certainly for people that want to dip into the challenge of it, or it's just sort of like something else to do that's always there. Like the people that are going to go hard on it or will always go hard on the most difficult like content available and do largely well. But I don't know. I think it could be a really interesting opportunity for it's like, oh, hey, it's kind of towards the end of the league. Let's see how far I get in Ruthless. And then that's how I used to treat hardcore. It was like, all right, I've got everything done that I went to. I'm going to go like get my feet wet in hardcore and see how far I get this time.
And I assume you didn't apply since you're busy with school?
No, I did, but we'll see.
Oh,
I don't know if
okay.
they'll... I don't have a ton of interest in the events. So I figured if I can spend some time on PoE over the next couple of weeks, then the least I can do is help test.
Cool. What do you think of it, Ty? What do you think of it?
I think I like the idea. It doesn't, this version of it doesn't interest me, but at the end of the day, I like the concept of it. Not enough, like the overall idea of it as it's currently presented didn't interest me to apply. And for example, like I love how, I guess, hardcore, you know, in a general term, how ruthless it actually is. I love the idea of item scarcity, but in a game with as many different base types that this game has, that's like, you know, when you already have to choose your direction on the tree, but if like you're going to get one boot drop per act or whatever the scarcity would be, like if it's going to be dropping deck stuff and you're going int or whatever it is, like there just seems to be in my head without playing it. So it's not a fair criticism at all, but it just seems like the base pool has way too many different types of bases that won't work at all for the amount of scarcity that they're talking about. But it would be cool to try it out. Because who knows how far you actually get and the decisions you get to make on the tree and where you're going and how that changes anything. Maybe you make your decisions on the tree based on the gear that you have. No crafting bench and really scarce currency isn't my kind of theory crafting. You know, that's more of an exploratory style of game as opposed to theory crafting and working towards something. It's more like, to me, eventually what I would love to have with Ruthless is you have a crafting bench and some currency, but almost no gear. And so your difficult decisions are, of course, okay, which piece of boots do I get? Because I've only had 3 drop in the last for forever. Which one do I risk with currency? You know what I mean? As opposed to, I don't know, it just seems like it's really, really scarce. So I'm very curious to see what people have to say about it after they've played for a bit and then the changes that they make to it. One thing I am very curious about is, because Chris has been very emphatic that this is something that people have done on their spare time. This has not cut into Path of Exile 1 or 2's development in any way. But when changes need to be made, is it still spare time changes? I mean, I assume so, right? They've been very emphatic about it, but I'm curious how often changes will come to this mode after all the feedback. One thing that I don't like, and this was probably my biggest turnoff, was that the majority of gems are drop only.
I love that.
I know you love that. But to me, this game's about like planning ahead and theory crafting, not planning your build based on
Ruthless.
Right. So it's just that it's just turning into the way that they've displayed Ruthless just isn't a game that interests me.
Yeah, to me, it feels more roguelike, where you just have to pick up what you can and make the most out of it.
And work with what you get.
Yeah.
It's way harder because, you can't plan ahead. You don't know what skills you're going to get. Picking your ascendancy is way tougher. Even your starting class is much tougher because you don't know exactly what skills you're going to find. We talked about this a couple episodes ago, that I was hoping it would be like this, because that reminds me of when I first started playing Path of Exile. You couldn't buy gems. Everything was drop. And you just hoped you would get some of the stuff. Like maybe you could purchase some of the very basic ones, but I don't even remember if you could. in the very beginning. So I think that's fun. I think that's exciting, because then it's really, really fun when something drops.
It is cool, but to me, it's fun if there's still a base amount of availability for me. Like, you can't buy gems, right? And so to me, I play this game because I want to see if an idea works, and I want to go through with that. But and from what I understand, the quests still give you quest rewards, but those are your picks, and then you can't buy anything extra. So you do have the option of, okay, so I'm going to go. Right.
Support gems won't.
That does make things very different. It's not a lot of planning ahead. And I know that caters to a lot of people here. That's not the stuff that interests me about the game. But one thing that I absolutely loved about this mode, and GGG was very emphatic about this, but that this isn't designed to impact Path of Exile 1 at all. But I love the restriction of movement skills. And I really hope that it finds its way into the core game.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
They were pretty movement skills. They said in their post that movement skills really nullify a lot of the enemy mechanics in the game. It gets you out of a lot of spots that they wish you couldn't get out of, or that you had to use a different method to escape from. And so it is pretty cool that they've made so many movement skills or movement restrictions in general. And I thought it was, when I was thinking about this, I'm like, oh, that'd be kind of neat. Like, if they were to actually add that to the core game, you could add all the movement perks instead of having movement skills that nullify all these different experiences that they're hoping you have to experience. Just have movement perks or skills in ascendancies, so that there's still an even pro and con based on the ascendancy that you choose, whether there's movement perks or not. But there's not just an infinite amount, not an infinite amount, but any build can use any movement skill in the core game. And I was kind of thinking about that. I'm like, oh, that's kind of neat. Like, you have to be this class to get this certain kind of skill. But of course, the rest of the ascendancy has pros and cons that can revolve around that too. So pretty neat.
Yeah, I don't know. Some of this, I can think of some boss fights that without a movement skill are going to be a nightmare.
That was actually the part of the announcement that turned me off the most, was the no movement skill things. Because I don't know if it's just because of, the various other video games they play, but having a mechanic and then successfully dodging that mechanic by using a movement skill correctly always feels good. That's like a haha sort of moment when you're playing a video games. And there's certainly a lot of, especially the more modern boss fights, you can definitely walk out of a shaper slam, but if you're in the wrong place and Cyrus turns around and does a dive beam, only a movement skill is going to save you, because you have to dash behind him so that he can't turn and laser you. And so there's certainly it's a double-edged sword, because I feel like it's going to really highlight a lot of problems with the current game design.
Yep.
As well as sort of bring certain people back. I think it's going to work on both sides of the equation. So I think for your players, there's going to be a new appreciation for every individual's mob's inherent danger. I know from experience of dying two different things, which mobs are dangerous, what it is that they do that's dangerous, and how do I counterplay that. And for people that, maybe haven't played underpowered builds, or maybe always stick to the meta sort of things, or haven't experienced the super high ramp up of difficulty that occurs later on in the game, and once you have all the altars and T6 or T16 maps and corrupted and all this other kind of stuff, once you have the density and all the altars and everything like that, some of them start to hurt a little bit. And if you haven't gotten mowed down a couple of different times by learning a monster that has fizz converted to some sort of element and then has the extra as altar, they fucking hurt. So I think it's going to bring down player appreciation for understanding and learning what the mobs do on an individual basis. But I feel like it's going to break on the back end of things, where will people be able to do, the Exarch meatball phase without a movement skill? Yeah, there's probably people doing it right now that can, completely thread their character through every single meatball without a movement skill perfectly. But for a majority of us, we're not that skilled. And so I feel like it's really going to suffer a lot in the end game, where we're very, very used to having access to movement. But I mean, but then again, it's Ruthless, so like it will probably take like 3 months to get to for the average person. Like, so I don't know. I don't know how it's all going to come out, but I feel like it's a good and bad thing. Like, I don't think that it's realistically possible to play PoE without movement skill for an average player of average skill. I feel like that's going to be really hard. There's people that'll do it, but the game has certainly been balanced around the fact that they exist for quite a while now, to the point where, you know, they nerf second wind and have tried to cap certain top end movement speeds across the board.
Well, GGG actually answered this in their Ruthless FAQ. Well, not answered it, but they did touch on that exact point. So here's the question. Some gameplay situations become very difficult without the ability to use movement skills. For example, grasping vines. Is this something that's been taken into consideration with Ruthless, or is this part of the challenge? GGG's response I thought was extremely interesting. It says, it's something we'll take into consideration. The way we're looking at it is, if a mechanic is impossible without being able to teleport away, it should be changed for both Ruthless and the core game.
Yeah, I mean, that I completely agree with 100%.
Completely. So I'm curious how many boss skills, how many enemies, like what are those enemies in Act 2 that vine you and have those exploding eggs as well?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
The little treant dudes. I remember them.
Yeah, I forget what they're called, but yeah. So
Tyler's death.
they're the reason I just walk. I'm bye.
Yeah,
I'll get something like fire trap for that one. I'll just place it, turn on the alternate behavior on controller support, and I'll just drop it at my feet, fire trap, and I'll just run, find those tree branch bridges, and off I go. Before we get into the FAQ though, there was one more thing that I discovered from the event topics where they were talking about changing their mystery boxes and the Godslayer rewards and that kind of stuff. Do either of you know what a plinth is?
That's the little thing you click on for the craft, isn't it?
You know, good for you. Did you know that, BK?
Nope.
Yeah, me neither. See, so they're like, what did they say? They said something about there's not going to be any plinths because there's not going to be any crafting benches. And I'm like, oh, you mean the crafting bench? Like, I just learned what plinth was because they used it to describe the thing you click on.
No recipes because no bench.
Right. Yeah, I think they're going to have a small amount of recipes available. They didn't quite say how, but yeah, there's not going to be any plinths. I think they said there's going to be a couple, like in terms of vendor recipes.
I thought they said all vendor recipes were removed.
Vendor recipes make sense. It's talking about the recipes for the actual bench itself, though. Like the
bench is gone.
T1 life. So, or like when you go to lab, well, you wouldn't be going to lab in Endless Delve anyways, but.
And so the definition of a plinth is a heavy base supporting a statue or vase.
It's an SAT word in my poor American vocabulary. It doesn't understand such intricate words.
Right. Plinth. So now you know, people.
Today's word is plinth. Yay!
That's right. Plinths are finally removed from the game if you play hardcore. Though I do hope they get rid of...
No, ruthless.
Right, yeah, sorry, Ruthless. Same thing, right? Same thing, obviously.
Okay.
But plinths, I'm looking forward to them being removed from the game. I hate the idea of actually being able to miss a recipe. Like, I want it to just be tied to like, okay, you killed this boss. Yay, you unlocked this. I like that. Then you can't miss it. With
regards to Ruthless, the reason I was asking you guys was because I was curious what your stance on it was.
Oh yeah, sorry, you haven't told us yours. My apologies.
Well, I'm actually excited for it. I think I will try it maybe once or twice. Maybe we could do it for a private league for fun. I think it'd be fun.
Yeah,
it's definitely not for me in the long run. It'll be a little side thing maybe every now and then. But I decided this week at one point to go check out Reddit because you asked me last week if I read Reddit, which I haven't for months. And, we had a talk last week about, I think it was all around the free stuff or whatever, MTX stuff and the events. And, maybe because I didn't check Reddit, I still feel like my comments were pretty valid because they were my opinion. But I decided this week, I'm like, well, I'm going to go check it out. It was a bit of a mistake. I probably won't do it again.
It's always a mistake.
Yeah, I really tried. So here's the thing. Ruthless, GGG has been very, very, very clear. And they say it in the very beginning of their announcement, Ruthless is not for everyone. And as I'm reading through the comments, I saw people that were beaking off about, taking away from development, which again, they've been very explicit that that's not doing that. And you should be fixing your game. And why don't you make 320 better? And why don't you, do it was just,
right.
it was
or
all
take,
over the
take
map.
that spare time outside of work hours and work on 320 instead of,
right.
Yeah.
And then somebody would say, I saw a number of people that said, this isn't what we want. This isn't what the player base wants. And I was like, how are you speaking for everybody? Especially when the ones I looked at, if I'm being like giving them the benefit of the doubt, I would say there may be, let's go really high, 200 different people commenting. And I still don't even think it was that high on the negative comments yet. GGG tweeted that they had over 4,000 submissions for the
400
for the alpha. No, I thought she said 4,000.
Yeah,
was it 400?
There's something that's been in the thousands. I think you can't.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she said there were over 4,000 submissions
cool.
for the alpha testing for Ruthless. So clearly people do want to try it out and play it. But I just the whole like them saying Ruthless is not for everyone. Tyler, you did your little thing with Calvin and Hobbes, and this whole thing actually reminded me of something that happened. It's from Ricky Gervais.
Mm-hmm.
He has some of the funniest stand-ups I've ever watched. And I've always remembered this one, but it came up recently because James Corden ripped it off and he's telling the joke or whatever. But he jokes about the fact that people are so like, everything has to offend me. Something has to offend me. Even if it has nothing to do with me, I'm going to find a way to get offended. And he was joking about the idea of like when you're walking past a post or, a message board and there's a sheet on there that says piano lessons call, and it's got those little tabs.
Okay.
That you can pull off for the phone number. And he says it's like walking up to one of those, taking off one of the numbers and then throwing it and saying, but I don't want to play the fucking piano. And it's like, it made me think of that because I was like, why, if you don't want to play it, just don't play it. I don't understand. Right. Just continue on. The game still exists. The normal game still exists. There's all these other modes that you can play right now. It cracks me up that people get so worked up over such silly. It's silly little things. So I think Ruthless is going to be very fun. I definitely do believe them that it's been a pet project that they're doing on the side. There's no way this is taking that much effort on the development side. So I think it's fun. I think people are going to enjoy it. And I think giving people another way to play the game isn't a bad thing. If it keeps people playing the game and bringing them back, and maybe you come into 320 and you enjoy it for a bit, and then you kind of go like, okay, well, I've done the stuff. Maybe now I want a bit of a challenge, or maybe Ruthless. I don't know how they're planning on running Ruthless. Like I would hope it's not a league thing, because 3 months is pretty short. To me, Ruthless seems like something I'd want to play over a longer term and just keep coming back to that character to try and progress them.
Too, is like standard mode where it's like, okay, I'm going to see I'm going to add a little bit of time to this and see how far I get.
I wouldn't want to lose it after 3 months or having to restart like that. It definitely seems like something that's much more long term, but I think it's fun. I think it's cool that they're bringing it out for people to give it a try. And I love the gem drop thing. It was one of my comments a few weeks ago. It's just such a fun way to play the game where you don't know what you're going to get, and then you got to try and find a way to make it work. Especially if you're playing a trade environment, it's a lot of fun. I don't know about like a whole big trade league. Then it might get a little bit not as fun, but I can imagine like a private league of a few hundred people. That would be quite a bit of fun because you'd have a much smaller, base of items to work with. So
that or solo self-owned. I think one aspect, they did say that it was launching alongside the 320 expansion. But
they didn't say it would be a 3 month
whether it'd be a league or not, right? Yeah. The one thing that this game, that Ruthless mode does need though, if it's a permanent stay in the game, is a very consistent core game, like a very consistent standard mode per se. Because if the game changes, and it's going to change quite a lot, my assumption is before Path of Exile 2, of course, to put it on par with PoE, what their plans are for PoE 2. But if that standard mode keeps changing, that might completely change all the time and effort and gear and the planning that somebody's put forward into Ruthless, and then the game changes and like, well, this idea doesn't work anymore, and you got to start from scratch. So, I mean, once the core game is stable and it's in a state where it doesn't need to change too much, I see Ruthless being a lot of fun, especially after other people have tested it out. And it's like, oh, okay, these are the gems that you actually can get right off the bat, or within your different character levels and that kind of thing. So As soon as some of the details are a little bit more well known, I think it's going to be something that's a lot more exciting for me personally. Did you read any of these posts, BK, or is this all kind of news to you when we're chit-chatting?
I mean, I poke at stuff and try and stay informed, but I didn't like read every single FAQ. No.
So
I didn't read the FAQ at all. Was it any good?
Yeah, no, it was
it just answering people's question, or was it their own stuff, or what?
It was, yeah. And a lot of the questions were really good, just like a lot of the questions on Reddit are good too, right? Like there was a lot of good inquiries and curiosities, and there's a lot of people that just have good questions, and they're like, okay, yeah, it's not for me, but thank you. It's really cool. I bet you both are extremely excited that Ruthless is also on console.
Of course.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. Good. And Justin, you already mentioned this, but I forget if you asked it as a question or as a statement, but they are making Ruthless available for private leagues for 320, which is really
are they?
cool.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's the plan anyway. I mean, who knows what happens in alpha testing, but yeah, that's their plan. I always think it's funny, and I get why, like as a company. So hang on. I always think it's funny that GGG bothers answering questions that were already very bluntly stated in the original post. But I get why a company would do that, because of course you're trying to emphasize over and over that, yes, that's why it was really blunt in our original post. Yes, we'll answer this question. We're going to repeat ourselves. But so when they
people
had
people don't read.
Yeah. They'll
that's exactly
go right
it.
to the FAQ and be like, okay, let me see.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep.
So they had a couple things like, is Ruthless taking the place of the 320 expansion? Well, GGG said that many times, including the original post, that of course it's not the actual expansion. And is Ruthless being used to test balance changes that are intended for the main game? GGG's also said they're completely separate entities again. So it was kind of funny that there's just some posts. I remember our Discord, some people in our Discord giggling about it too, how there's just some direct copy and pastes from the original announcement to this one. And I get as a company why you have to do that, because those are things that you are trying to emphasize. So another opportunity to say the same thing makes sense.
The thing you just said there, I feel like I saw a Reddit post that when I was scrolling through about that whole, is it being used to test balance changes that are intended for the main game? And this person was posting it in a way that was like kind of going against GGG and being upset with them, saying that because they said that changes made to Ruthless have no bearing on the main game, if we feel a change is good for the main game, we'll just make it there as well. That was
coinciding, with the movement
you
skill
are actually. But well, no, in this post it wasn't coinciding to the movement skill, but we do know that has some bearing on it. But then people were trying to say like, you are actually using Ruthless to test, and it's like, well, no, they're just. I think that's a good thing for the game if they can make the game work, maybe less requiring movement skills. That's not a terrible thing. That could make the game a little bit better, but I don't think they're using it for a balance thing. So
no,
I don't know.
Yeah, there's a difference between using it as like, we're using this to test what we're going to do for the future of the game, and then, wow, that's actually a really good idea. Let's apply that to both versions of the game. Like it's two separate games. Yeah, they might feed off of each other in time, but they are designed to be separate. They've been quite emphatic about that. So anyway, it was a really interesting week. They came out with a lot. There's the November and December events that are coming out, and then Ruthless and the Ruthless FAQ, and then we're going to have 320 showing up soon.
I wonder if they're going to let us make a Ruthless private league during a boss kill event, because you still can't make Kalandra Hardcore solo self-found, and yet that's not on the events page.
Still?
GGG still can't.
Wow.
But on the events page, it doesn't say anything about an ongoing boss kill event that still has not ended somehow this far into a league.
Change the boss kill event to Ruthless.
But
make it Ruthless, and then everybody can do the normal stuff.
I hope they just make both available and stop being turds about it next league. That's my vote. Sweet. Did we cover everything in PoE? Oh, I guess. Well, so did you play PoE at all this week, BK?
Nope.
Nice. Tyler?
You bet your buns I did.
Did you?
Oh, goodness. So yeah, Justin, did you play this week?
I did not.
Oh, well, you two are going to be so excited to hear what I have to say today. So I've been having a lot of fun theory crafting and coming up with different ideas. And I think, was it last week before, Justin, where I was talking about having like maybe wanting to replace zombies, but maybe not. Like I'm still enjoying them and I'm having a good time. And I'm actually enjoying the core content of the game doing white T16s instead of rare or valid ones, because it's letting me learn the arch nemesis modifiers a bit more. There's still some modifiers that I can't tell what skill is coming from what or which rare monster has what, but there's less WTF moments when I'm just doing my normal T16s. And so I've been having a lot of fun going through stuff, and I've been really enjoying the new Guardian with zombies that I have that has dominating blow. And I think it was last week where I was talking about like really wanting to come out, or maybe it was after dark, but I was talking about like I'm really enjoying the zombie plus a skill combo because zombies are nice and passive, but I'm enjoying being a little bit more. The controller support freedom on PC now lets me actually have an active skill that I don't have to worry about cramping up with the mouse or getting nauseated by too much specific pointing and aiming with the mouse. And so now my builds are starting to evolve where I want a little bit more to be a little bit more included within my own build. So having zombies with my Guardian is a lot of fun with dominating blow. And so then I was thinking, okay, well, that occultist zombie build that I have where my zombies are still just kicking around, but now I'm using Bane to apply temporal chains, enfeeble, and despair. That's a lot of fun too. And it's the exact same gameplay, right? Where my zombies are running around and I just have one button to hit against the enemies, right? One's close quarter combat, one's a little bit more range, but it's the exact same gameplay, but they're totally different builds, totally different damage types, totally different investments. And so I was thinking about, okay, well, what's one that I could do with the Necromancer? And I didn't, the Necromancer one didn't really have anything that stood out to me in terms of keeping my zombies and then adding an extra skill. But I've always wanted to make zombies explode. I thought it would, I just love the idea of like a Necromancer, like pretend it's a Marvel movie and you like, you know, this character like raises their hands and then zombies come out of the ground and then the zombies just rush at the characters.
I
and
thought
then
you
explode.
hate casting them though.
I'm trying it. So this week I'm starting to level a Necromancer, and the whole idea is just making zombies explode with minion instability. And I know the entire concept is way, way more simple and stress-free with skeletons because you don't need a corpse to summon skeletons, and eventually the skeletons summon 3 at a time. And so you even get like double the pop when they go and they run. But oh man, zombies have so much base life. BK, you've done detonate corpse builds before, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever touched zombies or done any type of minion instability before, or was it mostly with SRS?
I haven't done instability with zombies. There was a zombie exploding mining build that came out a couple weeks ago that I always wanted to like play around with, but haven't yet. Don't know if it's even still functional, but it was really neat to see the person throwing mines, which then, you know, somehow, I don't remember exactly the loop that existed, but they basically, you'd see a mine get thrown, little zombie heads pop up out of the ground, and then they would explode before their full raise animation because it was such a quick explosion.
Huh.
You can have zombies come off of a mine?
Minions can come from mines. Yeah.
Or spells.
Yeah. So long as you have
That's
like their requirement. So like in the case of, a corpse or, yes. So like I think it's mine trap totem is the order. So you would have a mine that would throw a trap, that would throw a totem, that would then summon an SRS if you wanted to. If you wanted to be like really useless.
But it would look cool.
None of those, modifiers for mine damage or totem damage would then carry over to the minion because it's not a minion modifier. But if you wanted to very clunkily do something moderately difficult, and then you just follow the train down.
Yeah, cool. So I'm playing with the idea of exploding zombies just because they're zombies and I enjoy the build, which is funny because I hate all the zombie shows. I think they're all stupid, but for some reason I really like them in the game. But what? Shut your face. I'm allowed to have an opinion too, Justin.
Man.
And so what? You didn't like a show.
You just hate everything.
No, you didn't like a show last week. So you're in the same page. You didn't like The
You
Watcher.
want black and white, no sound, and subtext. That's
I
it.
hate zombies just because they're so noisy. If you're in your hideout, they're like, and you're like, shut the fuck up, dude.
Yeah, and there's not even an option to turn them down.
They need to release the Silent Zombie MTX where it's the exact same model, but they have duct tape over their fucking mouths and they don't make any monster sounds. I would buy it.
You can't use the like Invis one that you can use on
you can't. No,
the banners.
It's invisible.
You know what? They should actually update the mummy skin for zombies then, because it's all
mummy shouldn't talk.
closed mouth, right? So I'm going through. playing as a necro, and I actually couldn't find an ascendancy where I was actually that impressed with, okay, I'm going to make my zombies explode. What's the best ascendancy? The necro actually didn't stand out too much for me with that one, because I'm already going to be using a fair amount of buttons. So something like bone armor wasn't very attractive because my minions are going to be exploding anyway, so I'm not going to have many minions around me. So there wasn't a lot that catered to me, but I had a lot of options as a result. I still went with the necromancer at the end of the day because they did have some consuming corpse perks. But because I don't want my minions to have resists, I don't want to give them... Well, I guess I could use one specific bone offering that could impact me as well. But I couldn't find too much. It wasn't the most tempting, but it was still the most relevant. So I'm going with a necromancer, and I've been leveling it up in standard. And it's funny because this build, I'm going to have about, and this is without gear, I'm going to have about 80% physical, cap. Once I have gear, my elemental resists will be at 80%. So the tree is giving me 80% for all three of my elemental resists. And I have about, was it 265 or 255% increased armor on the tree, and a lot of reduced critical strike damage on the tree as well. So it's pretty tanky. It's meant to, stand still, which I'm going to be doing a lot of, right? I have Desecrate attached to Spell Echo, and then I'm just going to be standing in one spot going, keep poking up my arm as a zombie comes up, zombie comes up, zombie comes up. So I'm playing with the different supports. Like even though Feeding Frenzy doesn't do a lot for damage, would like to see how much more aggressive the zombies run towards certain enemies that might be at the edge of my screen with it on, and having a lot of fun with it and doing a lot of different balancing and testing. But it's funny because my build is so defensive, I'm very, very surprised how much damage. Like, I've never leveled as fast. Now, I'm not a fast leveler, and I never go with the meta of how to level fast and just get to end game. So I'm always using my normal skills and my normal tree just to progress throughout the game. But I've never done so much damage. I'm coming across arch nemesis modifiers that are normally terrifying, and I'm obliterating them. Bosses are disappearing in seconds, and I'm on a 3-link. I'm zombies, and then I'm using Infernal Legion and Feeding Frenzy. So it's technically a 2-link, and they're just a little bit more aggressive, and they are just destroying stuff. I'm having a lot of fun with it. So it's still a little busy, right? Because it technically is 2 buttons, but with controller, it's not really a big deal for me, but it is still a little bit different than I'm used to planning. So I've had a lot of fun this week. That's right. I had fun going from Acts 1 to 5.
Fun is banned. Fun is not allowed.
That's right. But no, it's a fun new way for me to play, and I'm really excited about the Dominating Blow version of my zombie build. I'm really excited for the Bane version of my zombie build, which I need to level again because one's on PC and I want them on console. So yeah, but no, it's a lot of fun, and so I'm excited to get this corpse exploding one done and see once it's actually filled out and I have very average gear on, but I'm level 90 with all my stuff. I actually want to see how viable it is standing still and against the higher level stuff. So I'm pretty excited about it.
When you re-level a character going from like console to PC or PC to console, do you ever make any design difference changes based on like how each one plays differently? Like, do you set something up on PC and be like, oh, I can't do that, and have to like fiddle with it to make it adaptable to console, or vice versa?
Yes and no. But I used to, when there wasn't controller support, design all my console. I make all my builds revolve around my limitations with PC. PC was always, because it was the mouse, it was a lot more finicky, a lot more aiming, and very different aiming. PC was always my more limited platform, or limiting platform. And so when I was doing guides, I would revolve all of my gameplay around me being able to play it comfortably on PC. And so in effect, my console builds would suffer from that, because they would be the exact same build that I would have on PC. I didn't change them to be a little bit more efficient with, the ease of buttons there. But now that controller support is on PC, now I can have the freedom for how I would normally play it on console on PC, but I'm still getting used to that. I still think that I can only have one active button because I'm so used to that mentality of 5 years of guide writing with left click. So to answer your question, I don't have to do that anymore because of controller support, but I'm having a hard time remembering that I don't have to do that because of controller support.
Right on. Right on.
Yeah, but it is really exciting, and it is fun to try all these new things out. But this is basically how long's controller support been in the game now? Like a few leagues.
2 leagues, I think, maybe 3.
Yeah, and I'm still forgetting that I can have 2 buttons and it doesn't take a lot of brain power. So I just need to come up with a new habit. Whereas I would never be able to do that on PC. So it's kind of like now I'm starting to realize the freedom I have with controller support. So anyway, exploding zombies. It's fantastic. And I'll send you the POBs because I know you guys are just super excited to give it a shot.
Can't wait.
I know.
Can't wait to see it.
Listen, if minion instability is on the passive tree for Ruthless, you're going to get zombies right off the bat if the quest rewards are the same. You get it right off the bat. And zombies suck for the first couple acts, even if you highly invest into minion survivability. So bam, there you go. Hey, just beeline it to minion instability and you're set. You're set. That's solo self-found hardcore right off the bat. You get it's no contest. You heard it here. Both of you do it.
Tyler said it. All right. I think we're going to wrap this up. Thanks for joining us, BK, and hanging out. You going to hang out with us for After Dark later?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Sweet. Episode 161, Forever Exiled. I'm Justin, AK Tags.
Tyler Record Days.
And I'm Brittleknee.
We'll have BK's information down below so you can check it out. We've got a website, foreverexiled.com. We're on Twitter, foreverexiled82. We have a fun Discord that you should be a part of. Patreon and other ways to support the podcast are down below. And if you haven't done it yet, make sure you hit that little 5-star thing on Spotify or Apple because you're awesome. And I think you guys already have us up to 120, which is amazing. Patrons, we'll see you in After Dark, everybody, at 162 next week. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. I also need to get better at reading Calvin and Hobbes comics. I should practice.
Why?
I
thought you did fine.
Well, the dad
you got
says
very
this.
animated with Calvin's voice.
Said this, but yeah, because he's yelling. It's in full caps and it's bold, and his hands are in the air like this.